It's inevitable that in the course of our lives we will encounter pathogenic microorganisms, and therefore our bodies must be designed in order to protect us from them gaining entry to our bodies where they will be able to colonise and cause damage. To do this, our bodies have a number of defence mechanisms, both non-specific and specific, which prevent entry of the pathogens into our bodies, and if they do gain entry, to destroy them before they can cause damage. Non-specific responses are immediate and the same for all pathogens, whether they be bacteria, viruses, or fungi, or protozoa. They can be subdivided into first and second lines of defence. The first lines of defence are general physical and chemical barriers which will prevent the entry of microorganisms into the body. So for example, the skin, which covers our entire surface, is a continuous barrier which protects the underlying tissues. The inner surfaces are known as mucous membranes, so we're thinking here of inside the genitalia, the digestive system, the respiratory tract. This offers a physical barrier, for example, things like ciliated epithelial layers in the trachea, but also chemical barriers, things like stomach acid. Should these fail and bacteria, fungi or viruses gain entry into the tissues, we then have a second line of defence, the phagocytes, white blood cells that will patrol, recognise, attach to, engulf and digest pathogens. The specific immune response is much slower than the non-specific, but it is targeted at a particular type of pathogen, and there are two categories. The cell-mediated response, which includes the T lymphocytes, and the humoral response, which includes B lymphocytes and the production of antibodies. In a non-specific response, there's no memory of the pathogen, and so that pathogen will keep coming back time and time again, and the same response will always have to be used. But the specific response includes an immunological memory. That is, the pathogen can be recognised a second time with a faster and bigger response, and therefore we're less likely to suffer from symptoms. This would explain why you might only get chickenpox once in your life. The first line of defence of the non-specific response includes, for example, lysozyme, which is an enzyme produced in the tears, which is mildly antiseptic and will destroy the bacteria and the fungi, etc. that are trying to get in through our eyes. In our trachea, we have lines of ciliated epithelium. These are cells on the outer layer of the trachea which have these hair-like projections that waft backwards and forwards. And in conjunction with goblet cells that produce a sticky mucus, the trapped bacteria, once they have got stuck by the mucus, can then be moved back up the trachea to the top of the throat, where they can then be swallowed or coughed up. If they're swallowed, along with our food, they'll move down into the stomach, where hydrochloric acid, at a pH of perhaps 1 or 2, is highly corrosive and will actually denature the cells and denature the enzymes, sterilising most of the contents in the stomach. On the outside, our skin covers the entire body and produces a mild antiseptic oil known as sebum. If it's broken, the skin can be healed using blood clots, where platelets in the blood stick together to seal the wound. But it's also home to a huge number of commensal-friendly microorganisms that actually use up the nutrients and space that pathogenic organisms might otherwise take advantage of. And because of the competition between the pathogenic and the commensal microorganisms, we actually keep pathogenic numbers relatively low.